Hey everybody, hope you liked that goofy Rambo style intro. I just felt like being goofy. But in this series we're going to learn how to make this Gears of War Lancer rifle. We're going to break this down into segments because there's a lot to it. We're going to start with just the base form out of EVA foam, and once we do that we'll go on to detailing, painting, and maybe even the LEDs. I may actually do the LEDs in a separate video outside of this, but we'll see. So follow along and I will help you make this. This was a whole lot of fun to build, and I hope you'll enjoy it. So let's go. First thing you want to do is print out the templates. They are linked down in the description down below, and you can do a couple things. You can use them just like that, or you can add another layer of paper like I did using a little bit of just school glue. And use a heat gun to help dry it. Just makes it thicker, makes it an easier template to work with. Once you have that all done, you want to connect the templates. You'll see how you could do it just like this, and you connect them with some masking tape or whatever tape you have. Just line them up, put some tape on, and I prefer to tape the front as well as the back, just because sometimes when you bend the template it'll start to come apart unless you tape both. And you'll have something that looks like this. And the next thing we want to do is cut off these four pieces, the barrel and these four pieces there, or the three other pieces there. And we're going to start breaking this template down into workable pieces. We're going to take this chain rail off the front, as well as the stock off the rear, this top sight that you see here, the trigger guard, and the trigger. And we're also going to put those to the side. Start with some floor mats, some foam floor mats. These I just picked up at Harbor Freight. We're going to need a few sheets to make this. Set your template on the foam, checking for any kind of discrepancies that might be in your foam and avoiding those, because that will show up in your finished work. Just a little tip to avoid that mistake up front. So once you have everything the way you want it, lay your template down, pin it in place so it doesn't slide, and then you're going to trace this. We're going to need several copies of this. You'll need 4 pieces altogether to get the thickness that we want. 2 of them will be facing opposite directions, and they will be the outside of the gun. They will be the smooth sections. The inner parts doesn't matter which way they're facing because they're going to be sandwiched between those other 2. So once you have that done, get you a sharp knife and begin cutting. So once you have all 4 pieces, you'll have something that looks like this. Don't pay attention to the red foam. I just happen to have that color around that I picked up at a garage sale. And you'll sandwich those between the 2 sides that are your outer sides. And because this foam has this pattern on the inside, it doesn't really absorb the glue. So we're going to take that and scuff it up real good with the rotary tool. And you can see that the foam is pretty wobbly, and I want this gun to be sturdier. You can leave it floppy like that if you wish, but I wanted to make mine a little more sturdy. So I found these fiberglass sticks that I got at the Home Depot, and all I'm going to do with them is use them as supports within the inside of the gun. So all I'm going to do is figure out where I want them. I'm going to trace around it. I'm going to create a divot with my rotary tool so they'll sit down in there and they won't be a big bump in the finished product. And then this will get sandwiched between a couple layers, and I'm going to do it on both sides to add some extra sturdiness. Now that you have it stuck in there with some hot glue, we're going to add some barge rubber cement, or you can use hot glue if you wish. And if you're using barge, 2 layers, allow each layer to dry between each layer. Once it's all dry, carefully line it up and squish it down, hold it in place. Use a lot of pressure to really make sure it's sticking well. And you'll have the first half complete. We're going to repeat that for the other half as well. And I also put in a fiberglass rod in there as well. So you'll end up with 2 pieces that we will take and sandwich them together to make one full piece that is 4 layers thick. And when you're done, you'll have something that looks like this. Now's a good time to clean up edges to make sure everything's level. You can use your rotary tool, you can use a sanding stick, a sanding block, whatever you have to really just help make sure that the layers aren't all crazy and one layer's hanging out and the other one's not. So once that's done, we're going to start separating this template further. And you can see the colored areas that I've got on mine here. You can use that as a reference for yours as well. And these are the pieces that are going to be three-dimensional. But we're going to start with the hand grip. You can see the little tiny piece that I have cut and traced and then sanded down with my Dremel just to round this out. Now we're going to do kind of the same thing with the front. We're going to remove this piece, put it back down on our blank, if you will, and we're going to trace that line. Don't forget to flip your template over and your prop over and do that on the other side. Everything we're going to do, we're going to repeat and mirror on the opposite side. The top here is going to have a slight angle as well, so we're going to remove this piece off the template, put it on there, get our lines, and then we're going to also cut that away, just like you're seeing here. Again, we're just going in a 45-degree angle, and you should have something that looks like this. Repeat that for the top and the opposite sides of your prop. And always make sure your utility knife or razor blade is sharp. The sharper the better, because if you have to do a sawing motion like this, you're going to end up with little grooves that you're going to have to sand away, like I'm doing here with my Dremel. Now, I like to sand the edges with my Dremel or with a sanding stick just to make it a little smoother and to round it a little bit more. I don't want it to be a sharp 45-degree angle. So do what you need to do to really get that rounded effect that you're going to see here. And once you're done, we're going to go ahead and separate this template more. As you can see the different areas that I've already taken out of the template. They're the colored ones. These are going to be layers that we're going to add on later. And I've also taken that and I've put the template back down on my blank and I've marked where all those pieces will go. And this will help line it up on both sides. Now we're going to take the pieces that we have and we're going to trace those. This comes apart into two pieces, but we're going to need the two pieces together and then just the circle by itself. And this is all the same size foam. And because it's the same size foam, we're going to have to make them a little bit different in thickness. I'm going to cut this and leave it about 3/4 of the thickness, which I've marked on my papers. These are going to be the full thickness, which I've marked. This is also going to be full thickness, which I've marked. These here, I'm going to make them half the thickness. I'm just going to basically slice them in half to get them to be half as thick as they are. These will also be half as thick as are these. And here's a good way to mark your pieces. Get something that's bendable, a playing card, a piece of paper that's been folded, a manila envelope, whatever you wish, and use it to run it around the piece so you can get a good straight solid line on where you're going to cut it. These round pieces, I just took a very, very thin layer off. I marked them as 7/8 as the thickness. So basically I'm just taking what I saw in my head as 1/8 of the thickness, but it probably is closer to 1/4. But just trace that line around and start cutting that thickness down for all these different pieces. And you'll have some cut marks in it like this. Don't worry, we'll go back and sand that to make it flatter later. And we're going to repeat that with all the other pieces, clean them up so they're nice and smooth and straight. And then we're going to add one little detail piece on here, which are these round things are going to have a slight curve on them. So we're going to take this outer ring, cut it out of our template, trace it on here, and we're just going to cut it in a 45-degree angle. I'm going to sand that down as well to make it nice and smooth, and now you have this. And that will sit right on top of this. So it'll be actually 2 layers thick. And that's going to end part 1 of the Gears of War Lancer build. We've got a lot that we've already done. It seems like it might be a little bit overwhelming to make something this complicated, but really it's not if you just do it in steps. So the first step should be done, and if you have any questions, make sure you leave questions in the comments section down below. And I want to give a shout out to Andrew DFT over at his channel on YouTube. He's the one who created the template for this. He made it himself, he offered it for free, so we're utilizing that resource that he gave. So the least you could do is go over there, say hi to him, subscribe to his channel as a thank you for providing the template that we're using. So in the next video we're going to do a lot of work with the 3-dimensional layers to add some depth to this, so it's not just a flat piece or prop. And we're going to add a lot of the detail and things like that in the next video. So stay tuned, and the next one will be out soon, and before you know it, you'll have a finished product like this.